In this video, I'll go through each part of the main report generated after your initial Dexa scan. The basic scan results are shown here. The three components of bone, fat and lean tissue are measured in kilogram, and in combination they equate to your total mass or weight. Let's go through a sample report. You can see that this lady is carrying currently 24.9 kilograms of fat. I think she should be carrying anywhere between, say, 14.8 and up to 18.7 kilograms of fat. This target is based on her height, so the taller you are, the greater your surface area, and therefore the more fat that you should be allowed to carry, and vice versa, and also her sex, so females genetically carry more fat than males. By using even the BMI or scale weight to generate a target to aim for, we penalise those individuals with large muscle mass, because that muscle mass contributes to weight on the scale. So we don't want to lose muscle, but we do want to lose fat. Therefore, we should frame our goal and our progress in terms of a target fat mass. This target generated usually proves to be spot on, and it's absolutely obtainable because we've taken into consideration how much bone and lean tissue that particular individual has. Based on the target fat mass range, she has at least 6.2 and up to 10.1 kilograms of fat to lose. If this lady was carrying anywhere between 18.7 and 23.6 kilograms of fat, she would still be fine from a health point of view. However, once she gets over this amount, the amount of fat carried begins to become a health risk. At the moment, this lady is carrying 24.92 kilograms of fat and therefore is in the overweight category. The big goal is to get down into the red zone, which means you're lean, but the first task is to get down into the healthy green area. The fat-free mass, as the name implies, is your total mass or weight minus your fat mass. This graph plots this lady's fat-free mass against a couple of databases of females and adjusted for height. She ranks just above the 75th percentile, which means compared to others like her, so females of the same height, she's in the top 25% for fat-free mass. In other words, she has a lot of lean tissue and bone. There's no real right or wrong with this, as fat-free mass often has a strong genetic contribution, but certainly it also reflects how much weight-bearing activity someone does. The big benefit of a large fat-free mass is that it really drives the resting metabolic rate. There is a very linear relationship between an organism's mass or weight and its resting metabolic rate. For example, the resting metabolic rate of an elephant is greater than that of a human, which is greater than that of a mouse, for example. When you exclude the fat component from the weight, which equates to the fat-free mass, the relationship is even stronger. I can calculate this lady's resting metabolic rate by plugging her fat-free mass score into a standard formula used in exercise science. Her resting metabolic rate is 1431 calories per 24 hours, which really means that if she was sitting in a chair just resting for 24 hours, this is how many calories she would burn up just to keep herself alive. This is shown on the red line in the graph. Resting metabolic rate contributes as much as 70% to total energy expenditure, so it's very important in terms of your overall calorie burn. So using this as a base, we can guesstimate her calorie requirements to either break even, in other words not gain or lose fat, so a steady state situation, or to lose fat. If we assume that she does no exercise, then she could consume about 1700 calories per day and be in a steady state. The difference between the resting metabolic rate and the steady state expenditure at zero exercise represents the calories burned during her daily activities of living. So eating, drinking, showering, thinking, talking, and working in a sedentary type job is the assumption. If we now assume that she burns up about 2000 calories per week, or on average about 300 calories per day, then she can now consume just over 2000 calories per day and break even. To lose fat, we want her to reduce her calorie consumption by about 500 from the break-even state. This creates a calorie deficit of about 500 calories per day, which equates to a fat loss of about 500 grams or half a kilogram of fat per week. Remember, there are a few assumptions in this calculation, and it's not going to be accurate to the calorie or to the kilogram, but it provides a good starting point. If the predicted fat loss didn't eventuate at that level of intake and exercise, then the advice would be to drop the intake by 1 to 200 calories per day, increase the expenditure by about the same amount, and try again, and keep adjusting and testing until fat starts to come off. For everyone, there is a tipping point where expenditure begins to exceed intake. It's just a matter of trial and error until it occurs.